Could it go up further, do you think? Does that seem like quite expensive to you? Are you put off buying it back now? Okay, so what's like the highest price you could see it going, say, by the end of 2020s?
It was once a lot, but now not anymore.
Does that sound crazy? Does that sound crazy?
It does sound crazy, yeah.
Do you think it could be worth several million in the future? Can you see a time where in the future one Bitcoin is several million pounds? Do you think we could see like £1 million or $1 million Bitcoin in the next few years?
Well, I bought some probably 4 years ago,
Okay.
just after people became multimillionaires from it, and I spent 300 quid.
Great.
Not all in one hit, but over time, over say the course of a year, I just lobbed in 20 quid here or there.
Okay, great. And this was a bit like 2017, 2018, was it? When there was the big hype around it, around December 2017?
Yeah.
Okay, and you've just held it ever since?
And it's gone up to 2,500 quid.
Yeah, so that was turned out to be a good buy.
It was, yes.
And are you tempted to kind of continue buying? Do you think it's going up from here, down from here?
I wish I could tell you.
Yeah, okay.
But the fact that I spent 300 quid that turned into 2,500.
Yeah, that's not bad, is
I've actually
it?
just withdrawn 1,000 because I needed it.
Sure.
So it's almost like a savings account for me.
Good. What would it take for you to buy some Bitcoin?
What would it take? I mean, it's an interesting question. I wouldn't say the energy concerns would completely put me off buying some. I think really probably what it would take for me to buy some would either be maybe for the energy things to be addressed, but also I would say probably for me to have more confidence that it was actually going to maintain its value and be a bit more of a stable currency.
Okay, yeah. So what if I told you that I believe that Bitcoin will be worth several £million per coin? Just for context, it's about 40,000 today.
Yeah.
Does that sound like just crazy talk, or if we take the whole network and the value of the market as a whole, it's worth 1 trillion today. Gold is worth 10 trillion. Bitcoin's better than gold. So, could it go up further, do you think?
I certainly think it could go up further. It's not out of the realms of possibilities. I mean, at the end of the day, the value of it is to do with supply and demand. So as long as there's demand for the coin, that it could increase in value. I suppose my worry would be that demand for the coin suddenly reduces, and the value of kind of, if I bought some, the value would go down.
So would you say you have a positive view of Bitcoin then?
No.
Interesting. Why is that?
I think it's a hype. It's a hype and it's really overvalued, but it has potential.
Okay, so 60,000 is expensive.
Yes.
So you're selling?
No, I'm holding.
Right, okay, so yeah, interesting. Do you think it could go to several $1 million per coin this decade, in the 2020s?
Nah. It has the potential, but not this decade.
Okay, so what's like the highest price you could see it going, say, by the end of 2020s?
2020s, it will probably drop down, so...
5,000?
I don't know, it will drop.
What's the price of Bitcoin today?
No idea.
No idea. Roughly?
No idea.
Okay.
It was once a lot, but now not anymore.
Okay, it was once... Just say that again.
So it was once quite a bit, but not anymore.
If you knew it was going to turn into something, then it's no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the future. I've not got a crystal ball, but I've done... I guess you could say I've done the research that maybe you guys haven't yet, just because I'm further along in that journey. I think buying Bitcoin today, or owning Bitcoin, or using Bitcoin is a bit like using the internet in like 1996 or 7, like really early days. About 1% of the world own Bitcoin, and it's growing very rapidly. So I do think that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, like you could see like a multi-million-dollar Bitcoin. Does that sound crazy?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, for one Bitcoin, like if you look at the whole market, it's valued at $1 trillion, but global money is like $500 trillion. If you take into account like all of the bonds and real estate and all of the property price and everything, so there's a lot of room for it to run. What if I said that one Bitcoin could be worth several $1 million in the future? Does that sound crazy?
It does sound crazy, yeah, but tempting.
Crazy but tempting.
Yes.
I know if I put into it about 15 years ago, I'd be laughing. So.
Yeah, it was created in about 10 years ago. So if you're doing 50, that would be really good if it was 15 years ago. But yeah, it was started off at $1, didn't it? It's gone up a lot. Do you think it could be worth several million in the future?
Oh yeah, but it depends. I think it's like stocks and shares. Everything goes up and down. So I know there's been loads of crashes before. So
Can you see a time where in the future one Bitcoin is several £1 million, or does that sound crazy?
No, probably in about 50 years.
50 years.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so 20. What would that be? What is it? No, 2020, 2021. So 2071, you reckon?
I imagine so, yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully this video will still be on YouTube in 2071, and we can see. Yeah.
Hopefully you bought some.
What's the price of one Bitcoin today, roughly?
What's that? Like 36,000 something, or is it low? Is it 32? Has it dropped again?
Are we doing USD or GBP?
USD.
So it's 66,000 USD.
Oh, am I allowed to say that?
That's fine.
Yeah, no, I haven't really looked at it. I wonder how much mine's worth then. Probably like £5 now.
It might have gone from 3 to 5. Do you think we could see like £1 million or $1 million Bitcoin in the next few years?
I mean, I have no idea because it hasn't really reached true saturation yet, so it's not actually a means of exchange at the moment. You know, it's still a store of value. It's quite a speculative thing. You know, its value's very much still at the behest of investors rather than, you know, actually having any utility as a means of exchange in like a currency.
Yeah, I have bought some, and I've sold. I did sell it all.
You've sold it all
by mistake before, because there was a huge crash. Then it went back up.
Yeah.
And I sold it when it was back at the high, and then of course it did the huge loop and shot all the way back up.
Right. So let me interpret that. You bought it in 2017 at the big peak.
Yeah.
Then you sold it when it got back to that, like last year, was it? And then it continued on going. Okay, so you sold it, but you kind of wish you hadn't. Is that what you're saying?
Much.
Okay, and do you think it's too late? Like, what's the price of Bitcoin now? Do you know?
It's about 41,000-ish.
Yeah, it's around the £41,000 a coin mark, isn't it? So does that seem like quite expensive to you? Are you put off buying it back now? Do you think it's going to go higher?
I think it's going to go higher. It's going to become a big thing anyway.
Okay, but you're not tempted to buy it back now?
I want to, but I want a whole one, but I don't have the money for that.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's out of reach for most people, isn't it? I mean, to get a whole coin.